You're entering the Blitz with your host, Matt Maldonado, on Madness4life News. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Matt Maldonado, here in Phoenix Region 9, Las Vegas, and this is the Blitz, Madness4life News, and it is podcast number 41, and it is episode number 12, and it is September 12th, 2012. I'm going to be getting into a smattering of news here today from the Drudge Report. So let's get started with those reports here. U.S. ambassador to Libya killed in Benghazi as the attack in Libya, actually. The U.S. ambassador, this is from a Reuters report, the U.S. ambassador to Libya and three embassy staff were killed in an attack on the consulate and a safe house or refuge stormed by Islamist gunmen, blaming America for a film they said insulted the Prophet Muhammad, which wasn't really true. Gunmen attacked and set fire to the U.S. consulate in the eastern city of Benghazi, the corridor of last year's U.S.-backed uprising against Muammar Gaddafi, 42-year rule. Another assault was mounted on the U.S. embassy in Cairo. U.S. President Barack Obama branded it an outrage attack and ordered increased security at U.S. diplomatic posts worldwide. Violence also threatened to spread to other Islam countries by nightfall on Wednesday, 24 hours after the attacks in Egypt and Libya. Police were firing tear gas at large demonstrators outside the U.S. Embassy in Tanzania. The attacks alter U.S. attitudes towards the wave of revolutions across the Arab world, which toppled authoritarian leaders in Egypt, Libya, and Tanzania, bringing Islamists to power. The violence could influence a close fight U.S. presidential election in which Obama's challenger, Mitt Romney, has accused him of not defending U.S. interests robustly enough. Romney issued a statement criticized Obama's intentional response. The president's campaign responded by accusing him of scoring political points at a time of national tragedy. It was not immediately clear prehensively how or where California-born Ambassador Christopher Stevenson was killed during the assault. Stevenson was a key player when the Obama administration supported the anti-Gaddafi insurgency. U.S. consular staff were rushed to a safe house after the intentional attack. Libya's Deputy Internal Minister warns El Sharif Sharif said an eventual plane with the U.S. commando units then arrived from Tripoli to vacate them from the house. It was supposed to be a secret place, and we were surprised the armed groups knew about it. There was shooting. Sheriff said 2 U.S. personnel were killed there. He said 2 other people were killed at the main consular building, and between 12 and 17 wounded. The attack rushed other questions about the future U.S. diplomatic prehension in Libya. Relations between Washington and Tripoli and the unsustainable security situation after Gaddafi. Film portrayed Mohammed as a fool, a predander, and a religious fake. In one clip posted on YouTube, Mohammed was shown in a potential sex act with a woman. For many Muslims, it is blasphemy to depict the Prophet. The incident had echoes of the publication in a Dutch newspaper of cartoons that touched off riots in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia in 2006, in which at least 50 people died. Images of Ambassador Stevenson's purportedly taken after he was killed circulated on the internet. One image showed him being carried with a white shirt pulled up and a cut on his forehead. Across the Islam world, leaders will be concerned about preventing the spread of violence. Afghan President Hamid Karzai condemned the film in a statement, calling it's making a devilish act, and saying he was concerned those involved in its production re-represented a very small majority. The statement from Karzai who is defended by 113,000 NATO lead troops, including nearly 75,000 Americans, made no mention of the violence against U.S. diplomats. Afghanistan shut down the YouTube site so Afghans would not be able to see the film. The U.S. Embassy in Kabul appealed to Afghan leaders for help maintaining calm. In Egypt, Prime Minister Kendall condemned violence while calling on Washington to act against the film's makers. What happened at the U.S. Embassy in Cairo is regrettable and rejected by all Egyptian people, and can't be justified, especially if we concerned that the people that produced this low film, who no relation to the U.S. government, he said. We asked the American government to take a firm position towards this film's producer within the framework of international characters that criminalize acts that strife on the basis of race, color, or religion. And it just continues on from there. Wow. Continuing here with these articles. Officials believe embassy attacked in Libya may have been coordinated. This is from the WTOP.com site. This is WTOP 103.5 FM today. All right. Washington intelligence experts and U.S. government officials are starting to view the attack in Libya that killed U.S. Ambassador Chris Stevenson and 3 others in Benghazi as a coordinated attack. Sources, including officials at the Pentagon and the State Department, are discussing the possibility that it was a planned operation, and some say several developments seem to support the possibility. The incident does not appear to be a random mob scene, but rather an opportunity that militants sieged. Sources say the attackers used a rocket-propelled grenade, a weapon not traditionally carried by protesters, but commonly used by terrorists. The attack is believed to have come in 2 waves. The first wave got inside of the compound, and a second wave penetrated a secure location inside the building. This development raises questions about how the attackers knew the location of that secure faculty, sources say. On September 11th, Al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri put out a video acknowledging an Islamist terrorist and high-ranking Al-Qaeda member who was killed in a drone attack in June. Sources have said they believe the Libyan incident might have been a revenge for the death of al-Libi. The embassy was housed in a location building that had been constructed temporarily. It was not in Inman compound, which is a building designed with certain security patrols, such as standoff distances between the public street and the actual factory. There we go. Factory. Fred Burton, a former diplomatic security agent at the State Department, says it is the host country's responsibility to provide security for all diplomats inside their country. Continuing here. Fix this for a second. All right. Continuing here. One of the more problematic events that you can ever deal with is a large mob that overtakes a faculty. Burton says you never see that in the United States simply because we have police present and set up perimeters and keep rolling out the resources to counter that kind of event taking place. Burton was one of the first diplomatic security agents to staff the diplomatic security service when it began. He was one of the first agents to go to Libya to investigate hijacking of planes and kidnappings of Westerners in the early 1980s. Burton says it is unclear where Stevenson was killed. Was he killed coming back to the mission, or was he trying to exit the mission? Was he trying to exit the safe house that's now into play? There are a lot of unknown factors here, he said. You may have had a situation that so rapidly that a snap decision was made to load up the ambassador and let's get the hell out of here. Out of Dodge, actually. It's the same thing. And they just vacated and ran into a situation where you had a perimeter set up and RPGs were fired into the limo as it was departing, he said. Continuing here. This is from the Washington Free Beacon. MSNBC host, who's more dangerous, the supreme leader in Tehran or Netanyahu? Morning Joe host Michael Bartkol, whatever, asked Joe Klein if El Kamari or Israeli ambassador Benjamin Netanyahu is more dangerous Wednesday morning. Mike, who is the more dangerous player on the world stage right now, the supreme leader in Tehran or Bibi Netanyahu? Don't answer that. Joe Klein, it's not Netanyahu. The supreme leader is a fascist, and he right now is causing great pain to his people in a way that Bibi Netanyahu never would. Donnie Duchess, whatever. I understand the point of your question, but that was a silly question. Scarborough, I can't even say that last name, sorry. That was a clown question, bro. Lawrence O'Donnell. One point we know with Netanyahu, as Joe can tell you, anybody's who's been in the room with Netanyahu, you don't have to be with him long to know that there's only one way to get along with him, and that is to agree with every single word he says, which Romney apparently does. Of course. Continuing here. Here we go. Another article here by the on Deadline, the USA Today. Cairo protesters, this is from September 11th, yesterday. Cairo protesters scale U.S. embassy wall, remove flag. Egyptian demonstrators climbed the walls of the U.S. embassy in Cairo today and pulled down the American flag to protest a film they say is insulting to the Prophet Muhammad. Security guards fired a volley of warning shots as the crowd gathered outside the embassy walls. CNN adds that the embassy had been expecting a demonstration and cleared all diplomatic and personnel earlier from the faculty. Continuing here. Reuters reports that protesters tried to raise a black flag carrying the slogan, "There is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger." The news agency, first of all, that's the black flag of the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda, but hey, that's all right. The news agency says about 2,000 protesters have gathered outside the embassy, and about 20 have scaled the walls. The AP says the protesters were largely ultra-conservative Islamicists. Iran's Fars news agency says the film is the work of a group of extremist members of the Egyptian church in the United States. Online says El Harm Online says the film is reportedly being produced by U.S.-based cryptic Christian Egyptians, including with the support of the Terry Jones Church in the United States. Jones is the pastor who steered controversy last year by threatening to burn a cairn in public. What was that? I think it's the what was that book the Muslims have? It's the I forgot. Sorry. CNN says the film is questioned in a Dutch production. The AP says clips of the film available on YouTube show the prophet having sex and question his role as the messenger of God. Words. Gada. That's what it says. After the protest, the U.S. Embassy issued this statement on this website. You can click on it, but it's right there below. The Embassy of the United States in Cairo condemns the continuing efforts by misguided individuals to hurt the religious feelings of Muslims, as we condemned efforts to offend believers of all religions. Today, the 11th anniversary of the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks of the United States, Americans are honoring our patriots and those who serve our nation as the fitting response to the enemies of democracy. Respect for religion believes is a cornerstone of American democracy. We firmly reject the actions by those who abuse the universal right of free speech to hurt the religious beliefs of others. The Grand Mufti of Egypt strongly condemned the movie. AllAfrica.com reports. Freedom of speech does not warrant discerning sanctity. Said in a statement. He said in a statement Sunday. Continuing here with these articles. I think this is it. Protesters climb U.S. angry at film. That's not it. This is... Sorry about that. So one lower right there. This is on Reuters. Egyptian angry at film scale U.S. embassy walls. Reuters, Egyptian protesters scaled the walls of the U.S. Embassy on Tuesday, torn down the American flag, and burned it during a protest over what they said was a film being produced in the United States that insulted Prophet Muhammad. Of the U.S. flag, the protesters tried to raise a black flag, the Al-Qaeda flag, by the way, with the words, "There is no God but God, and Muhammad is his messenger," a Reuters witness said. Once the U.S. Flag was halted down, some protesters torn it up and showed off pieces to television cameras. Others burned the remains outside the fortress-like embassy building in central Cairo. But some protesters objected to the flag burning. Many Muslims concern any depiction of the prophet to be offensive. This movie must be banned immediately and an apology should be made, said 19-year-old Ismail Mahdi, a member of the so-called ultras. soccer supporters who played a big role in the uprising that brought down Mubarak last year. The Muslim Brotherhood, by the way. He called on President Mahmoud Mizari, Egypt's first civilian president and an Islamicist, to take action without giving details of the film that angered him or other protesters. About 20 people stood on top of the embassy wall while about 2,000 protesters gathered outside. The demonstrators are mainly supporters of Islamic groups or ultras youths. An Egyptian Christian also took part. I am here because I am Egyptian and reject anything that insults Islam and anything that sparks division in Egypt, he said. Washington has a big mission in Egypt, partly because of a huge program that followed Egypt's signing of a peace treaty with Israel in 1979. The United States gives $1.3 billion to Egypt's military each year and offers the nation other aid. U.S. State Department spokeswoman Victoria Nuland in Washington said the wall was breached and the flag removed. We are obviously working with Egyptian security to try to restore order at the embassy and to work with them to try to get the situation under control, she said. Following the protest, Egypt's foreign minister said it was commented to giving all embassies the necessary protection. The U.S. Embassy had put out a statement earlier on Tuesday condemning misguided individuals who hurt the religious feelings of Muslims or followers of other religions. We firmly reject the actions by those who abuse the universal right of freedom of speech to hurt the religious beliefs of others. The U.S. Embassy said in its statement, Muslim anger, although it was not clear which film prompted the protests. Egypt's prestigious Al Zahar Mosque and seat of Sunni. There we go. Sunni leading condemned on Tuesday a symbolic trail of the Prophet organized by a U.S. group including Terry Jones, a Christian pastor who triggered riots in Afghanistan in 2010 by threatening to burn the Quran. There we go. Not the Korean. The Quran. According to the website www.standupamericannow.org, Jones and others were due to take part in an event on Tuesday, an anniversary of September 11th attacks by Al-Qaeda, even though it's actually been funded by the U.S. and it was carried out by the U.S., by the way. But hey, let's pay that no mind. Let's just all have infighting with all religions and all with everybody. But it's on purpose, so everybody, all the cultures and everything will just burn to the ground. But we like that. Anyway, continuing here. I don't like that. I know others don't. By Al-Qaeda on U.S. cities, called International Judge Muhammad Day in Florida. It was due to be carried live on the internet. Some activists had mentioned Jones's calls for a protest. Egypt's Orthodox Church also condemned in a statement some corpse living abroad who it said financed the production of a film insulting Prophet Muhammad. A state website reported about a tenth of Egypt's 83 million people are Christians. Protests have become a common feature in Egypt since the uprising that long-term U.S. Mubarak, Ali Mubarak, when U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton visited in July after Marcy was sworn in. Her motorcade was pelleted with tomatoes. That was probably the best ever, where they're throwing tomatoes at her. Some demonstrators shouted slangs against her, and some slangs were against Islamists, reflecting preconceptions of some opinions of Islamists who have swept Egypt's presidency and a primary vote that Washington helped Islamists to power. In Mubarak's era, protests were usually swiftly halted by an often brutally police force. One slang scrawled on the walls of the embassy, which is near the square where Egyptians revolted against Mubarak, said, "If your freedom of speech has no limits, may you accept our freedom of action." In other, like in France, it's like the French Revolution. All right, I have to go to different articles here because I'm running out of time. So that was from Reuters. Let's go to the next one because it just continues on from there. All right, next one. I just read that one. What's wrong with you, Matt? Go to the next one, sir. Come on, Matt. You can do it. There it is. Jeez. U.S. embassies in Algeria, Tanzania warn of protest. Algeria, the American embassy in Algeria and Tanzania warned of more protests Wednesday following attacks by protesters in neighboring Libya, in which the U.S. ambassador and 3 embassy staff were killed. Ambassador Chris Stevenson and 3 other Americans died in an attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, by armed protesters angrily over a film by a California filmmaker that recluded Islam's Prophet Muhammad in an emergency. Let's bring this down. In an emergency message, the embassy in Tanzania warned Americans to avoid crowded places, saying that even gatherings intended to be peaceful can turn confrontational and possibly altercate into violence. The embassy in Algeria had similar advice. The Algerian embassy said unsuspected groups were using online social networks to organize demonstrations to protest a range of issues. There Wednesday. The statement out of Tanzania City report of media reports inducting protests were planned, but said the embassy remained open. The attack in Libya, which borders Algeria and Tanzania, came hours after Egyptian protesters climbed the walls of the U.S. Embassy in Cairo, pulling down the American flag and temporarily replacing it with a black Islamic banner, the Al-Qaeda flag and the Muslim Brotherhood flag. By the way, excuse me. Let's hurry it up here, Matt. Embassies in 7 countries warn of possible attacks. This is from the top, the same 1035. The other one was the other report was an AP report. That was Associated Press. Let's go back to that. Hurry it up, Matt. There we go. There we go. I had to pause it for a second there. So let me read this for you today. The WTOP 103.5 FM, embassy in 7 countries warned of possible attacks. Washington AP, U.S. embassies in at least 7 countries in the Middle East, Africa, and the Caucasus are warning of possible anti-American protests following the attack on the consulate in Libya that killed the U.S. ambassador to Libya and 3 other Americans. And the embassy in Armenia, Bahrain, Kuwait, Sudan, Tanzania, and Zimbabwe. Zambia, there we go, Zambia. Along with the embassy in Egypt, which was hit by a protest on Tuesday, all issued warnings on Wednesday advising Americans to be potentially vacated. The warnings posted on the embassy's website did not report any specific threats to Americans, but not that demonstration can become violent. The protest in Cairo and the attack in Libya appeared to have been responses to an inflammatory anti-Muslim video posted on the internet. The AP News Now reported. And you can go to that. Next one. Years of warning about embassy security preceded Libya attack. This is on the Washington Guardian. State Department acknowledged as recently as February it lacked funding for some security important improvements. The way U.S. Embassy and consulates protect their staff in violent locations has raised several red flags in Congress, among watchdogs, and even an outside commission in recent years. The concern came into sharp focus with the death in Libya of U.S. Ambassador Christopher Stevens, actually, in an attack on the U.S. consulate in Libya, as well as an attack Tuesday on the U.S. Embassy in Cairo. While the State Department has responded to some of the criticisms leveled by congressional oversight bodies and its own internal watchdog, its diplomatic security, DS, it should be BS, but anyway, office recently acknowledged it lacked the funding for some recommended improvements such as security training and was instead working for workarounds. We cannot meet the in additional training recommendations outlined in the securities QDDR. Therefore, DS is aggressively pursuing online alternatives, e.g., distance learning of fact lessons among many menace the hard skills, weapon of familiarization and drivers training to increase training capabilities. The department sorry, acknowledged in a February performance report. Holy crap, I don't know if I can read all this, but I'll try. In response to Stevenson's death at the hands of an angry mob outside the U.S. consulate in Libya, President Barack Obama announced Wednesday that he has directed my administration to increase our security at diplomatic posts around the world. U.S. officials speaking on conditions of anonymity said some 50 Marines are being sent to Libya to reinforce security at U.S. diplomatic faculties. There is no higher property than protecting our men and women wherever they serve, said Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Her department identified embassy and personnel security as one of its major management challenges in its 2012 budget and properties report. One of the biggest concerns raised in recent years has been the quality of and capability of private security contractors hired to protect embassy staff. And it continues on from there. In a CBS New York, CBS local news report, 3 injured amid slashing at subway station in Queens. 3 people were injured in a stabbing on the escalator of a subway station in Queens Wednesday morning. Earlier reports indicate as many as 7 people stabbed. MTA spokesman said that Dana Saintfer, 25, slashed at least 2 people after getting into a dispute on a J train around 8:45 a.m. The argument continued while they were riding the escalator on the way up to the street. Princess Lesbo, 24, Antonio Ratti, 34, and Andreas Nova, 42, were injured in the attack. Lesbo and Rodney are a couple, an MTA spokesman said, and were arguing with Saint Fuller on the train. Nova fell during the incident on the escalator, and his injuries may have come as a result of the fall. Witnesses claim a bumping incident led to the violence. It was a simple bump, which is inevitable. It's rush hour. We're all going to bump into each other. Elizabeth Neves, I can't even say that name, that last name, whose friend witnessed the alleged attack, told 1010 WINS Carl D. Aria. The victims are being treated for their injuries at a Jamaica hospital. EMS said a box cutter was recovered. E and J trains bypassed the Avenue station in Jamaica during the investigation, but service resumed at about 10:30 a.m. Wow, and it just continues on from there. Last but not least, very last report here. Where are you? Here it is. In movie news, from the Hollywood Report.com, Weinstein Co. beefs up master premiere security over calls from angry Scientologists. Well, of course, you're going to make a film about a Scientologist brainwashing somebody, they're going to get upset. It's the same as even Mormonism or any other religion. Hey, look at everybody getting mad over the cartoons about Muhammad. But hey, as soon as those Christians get mad, oh, heaven forbid, they get mad too. Anyway, continuing here. As the Weinstein Co. enters the final stretch of its pre-release marketing effort for Paul Thomas Anderson's The Master, the Church of Scientology, the origins of which are explored in the film, has been mounting a campaign of its own. Sources confirmed to The Hollywood Reporter that the church has been calling, emailing, and sending letters to Harvey Weinstein's studio to voice objections to the film's depictions of a cult leader played by Philip Hoffman, and said to be a loose fictionalization of Scientology founder L.R. Humbrad, whatever. Oh, they gotta come after me for not saying his name right. Joaquin Phoenix also stars in the film as a drifter who falls around the Hoffman character's spell. THR also has learned that the Weinstein Co. had paid for heightened security at Monday's New York premiere at the Zankfield Theater. Anderson had downplayed the Scientology connection in interviews, though he did acknowledge at the Venice Film Festival, where the film took several top awards, but lost the Golden Lion, even though they were going to win it, and they just gave it away to him. Gave it away and just said, no, we're not giving it to you. Even though it was selected to win, but instead they went over a technicality that The Master was inspired by L. Ron Harbrad and the earlier days of I can't even say the word. Asked if he had shown the film to high-ranking Scientologist Tom Cruise. He's literally the top. Who starred in Anderson's 1999 film Magnolia. The director said, yes, I have shown him the film, and yes, we are still friends. Cruise's connection to the church have come under deeper scrutiny in recent months after his divorce from Katie Holmes, and subsequent articles in Vanity Fair that alleges he auditioned women within the church to be his girlfriend. Despite the pushback from Scientologists, the film has the wind at its back, and as its September 14th opening day in New York and Los Angeles approaches, having earned guessing accolades at its Venice and Toronto festival screenings. And the Weinstein Co. always has definitely turned conventional to its advantage, most recently having mounted a headline-grabbing war with the MPAA over the rated R rating assigned its documentary Bully. Some industry watchers have suggested the studio moved up the Master's release date 1 month because the crew's Holmes divorce had put Scientology back in the news. But Eric Lomas, president of distribution of the Weinstein Co., insist the motive was far less concluded. We feel that the film is great, Loomis told the Los Angeles Times. It plays great, and we want to get out in front of everyone else. And that is it for today. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening to me and tolerating me today. You can find these reports at drudgereport.com, and you can, if you want to subscribe to me, you can just hit that subscribe button, or you can follow me on the links below, or you can also subscribe to also Close to Modern's music. You can follow them in the links below. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to me and tolerating me today, and have a good day, and God bless America.